while she is in this kind of bad girl era, she gets a Ryan Seacrest tramp stamp. That sequence of words is it's deserved to be an icon status already. Ryan Seacrest tramp stamp. Moving on. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Carly, and earlier last year, I made a video where I ranked Glee's crimes against humanity. If you do not know, I am a massive Gleek. Put your paws up, little monsters. I have a connection with Glee in a way that I'm not proud of. It's really shaped my personality in a way that I don't think is productive to human society. I honest to God think that if I didn't see Glee, I would be like contributing to society in an actual way. Like if I didn't see Glee, I'd be like a teacher or a nurse, you know? Wouldn't do whatever the f this is, that's for sure. Glee was my first concert, Glee Live. I watched every single episode of Glee when it was on air, and I embarked on a rewatch last year, and it became too much for me. I got to a certain point in like season 5 where I was like, no, I can't. I simply can't. But in honor of Glee, of Ryan Murphy's magnum opus, I made a video earlier last year talking about all the unhinged, chaotic, insane that happens on that show. And Glee is such that people have commented on that video over and over again, time and time again, saying, you forgot all of these other crazy things. So I thought, why don't I rank those? Now, there's more crimes against humanity that Glee did. Why don't I rank them? So that's what we're doing again. Hi! I thought we'd just talk about this week's sponsor, Monopoly Go. It's literally the classic Monopoly visuals and gameplay, but tailored to your phone. You collect properties, you buy houses and hotels, you draw chance cards, all that fun stuff. Plus, you earn Monopoly money, okay? It's the exact same game, just with gameplay fit for the digital age and on your phone. One thing about me is I will crush a game of Monopoly, okay? Monopoly is an iconic board game, and with Monopoly Go, you do not need to clean up or set up the board. You can enjoy the iconic king/queen of board games without having to clean up the board after you're done or set up the board when you want to do it. We all know the world-famous zillionaire Mr. Monopoly for the icon/legend that he is. In Monopoly Go, you can escape into Monopoly's reimagined world guided by icon legend Mr. Monopoly, and explore different boards themed after like world famous cities, fantastical land. There's a board for everyone. Are you ready to rule the Monopoly world? Are you gonna dominate the board? Are you ready to buy, sell, and become an inner tycoon? Then download Monopoly Go today. Thank you so much to Monopoly Go for sponsoring this video. Mr. Monopoly is my favorite guy in the world. I love him. Let's get back into it. We have 4 tiers. We have icon status. Everything that's in here is it unhinged and insane? Absolutely. Does it barely make sense? Yes, babe. Yes, and yes, you can say that. But it's the perfect level of chaos that I demand from Glee. I don't know if I said this in my first video. I find it very hard to rewatch my old videos because I can't look myself in the eye. I can barely look the camera in the eye. People constantly comment being like, you cannot keep eye contact. And I'm like, absolutely. You know, sometimes you have ADHD for every single year of your life, and the thought of looking down the void of a dark camera sends a shiver down your spine. That's my experience. I firmly believe that Glee in the first season is a satire. It's a comedy show. It's a full comedy in reaction to like 90210, those like teen shows. The whole pitch is like, what if a teen show wasn't about the popular kids? And it's a comedy, it's a satire. Then they started getting a lot of like pats on the back for being very progressive with the Kurt storyline of Kurt being gay and being accepted by his father. So then they took a twist in season 2, and in season 2, it's still a comedy, but it's a lot more earnest and serious. And then by season 3, it basically became an after-school special where the reality of the world doesn't necessarily exist or make sense, and a lot of the humor is random, but it's also cut together with whatever issue is in the news right now, they're making an episode on it. But a lot of icon status is stuff that I truly believe to be hilarious and oftentimes intentionally funny. Because I think a lot of jokes on Glee people think are unintentional, but a lot of them are like, it's camp, you know what I mean? Then under icon status, we have who wrote this. Now this goes into the category of this is hilarious and I love it, but I don't think it was intentional. I think the writers were deadly serious when they wrote this. It's just hilarious. Then below that, we have I will be seeking damages. Ryan Murphy, expect a letter from my lawyers. These are things that broke me physically on the rewatch. I just can't even really, I just can't engage. And then finally on the bottom, we have jail time. And jail time is crimes. It's crimes. It's actual crimes against humanity. So we're gonna start in icon status. So first in icon status, we have at the end of season 1, the season 1 finale, Quinn Fabray, the pregnant Christian cheerleader, gives birth at the regionals competition. Her water breaks right before New Directions is about to hit the stage, or after they're about to hit the stage. Either way, her water breaks and she's about to give birth to her baby. So we have this majestic cinematic scene where Quinn Fabray is giving birth in the hospital with the Glee Club present and ready, but it's cut up in between Vocal Adrenaline, the Glee Club's #1 competition and enemy, performing their regional song, which is Bohemian Rhapsody. The lead of Vocal Adrenaline is Jonathan Groff, the actor from Mindhunter, from Frozen, from Merrily We Roll Along the Revival on Broadway. Get me tickets. Merrily, I know somebody from the Merrily We Roll Along Revival Broadway team is watching my videos. Not even a joke, not even a joke. This is disgusting. It's capitalist. I hate it. If I do not see Jonathan Groff sing Old Friends, if I do not see Lindsay Mendez sing Now You Know, if I do not see Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter himself, rip it on Franklin Shepherd Inc., I will end my life. But Jonathan Groff is the lead of Vocal Adrenaline, and he's singing this fucking insane Bohemian Rhapsody cover, and it's awesome. It's very camp, it's very funny, but it does like evoke a feeling. The performance of Bohemian Rhapsody is so epic that it like emotionally manipulates you into thinking that this is a very important scene, and I love that. Vocal Adrenaline wins regionals this year, and this is one of the few moments where I feel like Glee really strays into actual realism. A lot of Glee will be like, there's 2 performances and they're like, which one wins? And then whichever team has Rachel on it wins. And it's not often the best team. This time they have Vocal Adrenaline win, and this performance is fucking amazing. It deserves to win. Just watch it. Go type in, after this video is done, no, you don't even have to watch this video. Type in Glee, Bohemian Rhapsody, and you're welcome. Next in the icon status tier, we have Kurt becoming the kicker on the football team, but he can only kick the ball correctly if he does the entirety of Beyonce's Single Ladies dance. I love that. Kurt, in an effort to bond with his straight father, joins the football team as the kicker. If you know football, they kick the ball in this thing. I'm not even trying to be like, I don't know sports. It's just a massive blind spot for me. It's American football. It's a massive, I don't know a lot about it. But you kick the ball in between the prongs. Sorry, it seems like I'm not like other girlsing so hard. Okay, so Kurt is the kicker for the football team, but he has to do the entirety of the Single Ladies dance with music to kick the ball correctly. Amazing. Just like, again, this is such a good plot point. I love this. It's camp, it's unhinged, but to like have to watch characters that are so grounded in reality deal with this insanity is everything to me. And then eventually the whole team does a flash mob for the Single Ladies. This is an iconic show. Going into later seasons, we now have Sue Sylvester, the evil cheerleading coach, dropping the bomb that both of her parents were not around much because they were Nazi hunters, and then it's revealed later that season that her parents were not actually Nazi hunters, they just didn't want to spend time with her, so they lied to her and told her they were Nazi hunters. I'm putting this in the icon tier because, first of all, we get a truly criminal duet of Jane Lynch and Carol Burnett, who plays Sue's mother, singing Why Oh Why Oh Why Oh Did I Ever Leave Ohio? 2 of the greatest comedians of our time in the trenches in that duet. But also, you just get a lot of very funny lines just thrown away whenever this is talked about, being like, just like Sue being like, my parents were Nazi hunters, so they weren't around much when I was growing up. Her mom being like, those Nazis are slippery. Still gotta get a couple. Like, it's just, it's a funny job. And then it's funny for that to, it's not a funny job. But you know what I mean? Like, it's a good writing convention. And then also to have the reveal be that it's a lie because they just don't want to be around Sue is also hilarious. Next in the icon status, we have, again from season 1, Mercedes singing "Bust the Windows Out Your Car." Seems insane for me to say it like that. So this number is iconic. It is just so good. Any Amber Riley number, I think it's very well accepted in the online spaces. She's just phenomenal. She's a phenomenal singer. And it's such a funny number. The reason she sings this is because she has a crush on Kurt, who's just gay, like just obviously gay, but that's very relatable to me as well. I think a lot of us can relate to having a crush in high school on truly just a gay man. And she asks Kurt to go on a date, and Kurt says he likes someone else, and he's looking at Finn because he likes Finn because he's gay, but Mercedes thinks that he's talking about Rachel, and she gets so mad that she busts the windows, breaks the windows on Kurt's new car and sings this number. Such a good number, such an insane reaction to an obviously gay man being obviously gay. I love it. No notes, Ryan Murphy. Next we have Will Schuester planting drugs in Finn's locker to blackmail him to join the Glee Club. When Will Schuester takes over the Glee Club in the pilot, the first episode, he realizes that he needs a male lead. And in the pilot, he plants weed in Finn's locker because he hears Finn singing in the shower in the locker room and being very good and says, "Finn, I'll let you join Glee Club and I won't turn you in to the police." That's in the pilot. That's amazing. No notes. No notes on that. That's amazing. Next in icon status, we have Santana's Yeastastat commercial. When Santana leaves school and decides to embark on a journey of becoming an actor, she books a yeast infection medicine commercial, and they show it in its entirety, and it's perfect. It's just perfect. She has a quote where she goes, "Let's be honest. There are good kinds of yeast and bad kinds of yeast."
Let's face it, there are good kinds of yeast and bad kinds of yeast.
Just Naya Rivera, you can tell that she's auditioned for commercials in her life because it's almost too real, you know? Next in the icon status, we have when Quinn Fabray goes off the rails. She dyes her hair purple and becomes a skank. That's what her group is called. She basically becomes like a Tumblr girl. Me, being 13 at the time, world rocked forever, to be quite honest. Just the world shift on its axis. I was like, I love women. And while she is in this kind of bad girl era, she gets a Ryan Seacrest tramp stamp. That sequence of words deserves it. It's deserved to be an icon status already. Ryan Seacrest tramp stamp. Moving on. Then we have the Glee Project. I mean, the Glee Project is a crime. There's no argument there. The Glee Project was a reality show ran congruently with Glee on Oxygen, in which 12, I want to say, actors and singers competed for a spot on Glee. But what makes the Glee Project so unhinged is that you were graded on how good you could sing and do like the assignments of the week, but mainly you were graded on whether or not Ryan Murphy felt as though he could write a story about you. So like there's this, one season there was this Christian, and Ryan Murphy was like, I really want to write a Christian character on the show. I really want to write a Christian character. And that guy left, and another guy, who we're going to get to later because he's a white guy with dreads, was like, I'm actually a Christian too. Like, it was just people kind of sprinkling in their trauma and their identifiers in the hopes of getting a storyline on Glee. Also, 2 Glee Project alumni, Ali Stroker and Alex Newell, are Tony winners. That's gotta be more than the actual Glee, right? Like, I'm sure of it. It's just amazing. We have so many horrible plot points on Glee because of the Glee Project, because Ryan Murphy is kind of shoehorning these winners into storylines. I mean, I am an Alex Newell defender. I mean, I don't need to be. Everybody seems to love them. They're amazing. But the character of Unique that they play as a trans student is like weirdly sidelined for such a big identity to tackle on Glee. Also, an Irish guy, Damien McGinty, wins. Or maybe that's his character's name. Either way, his whole thing is just that he's Irish and he sings It's Not Easy Being Green. Like, it's just absolute Molotov cocktails into the paper-thin plot that is Glee. Also, I had to include the Glee Project because it has my favorite Diana Agron kind of reaction picture that nobody seems to use and everybody should, of her just holding up a sign that says, anxious. Then in icon status, we have Sue Sylvester marrying herself in an Adidas tracksuit wedding gown and then later getting divorced from herself. because it didn't work out. Pretty self-explanatory. And finally, in icon status, we have Brittany, Santana, and Quinn quitting the Cheerios because Sue Sylvester wants to launch Brittany out of a cannon in what would surely kill her. That's all, folks. Next, in who wrote this. Okay, so there's a plot point that I talked about in the first video that's one of my favorite plot points in the show, and it comes in the last season. And the last season of Glee is actually a lot better than the seasons that came before it because it leans fully into the satire kookiness of it again and has fun. So it's like a good season of the show. I think it's very underrated. You have Josie Toda and Samantha Marie Ware. Like, it's a good season of the show. And one of the plot points is that Kurt and Blaine, who are like the main couple, Klaine, if you will, on the show, are broken up. Blaine is dating Karofsky, who was Kurt's #1 bully and was a closeted gay man in high school, but was like truly bullied Kurt to the point where he had to switch schools because he felt unsafe. You know how you date your ex-partner's bully who made their life a living hell, and that's just kind of like a normal, you break up with your partner and you go, who is the most hellish figure in my ex-partner's mind because I need to date them. And I'm not saying that like Karofsky is beyond redemption, I just don't think that that's a good thing to do. So they're dating, but Sue is a massive Klaine shipper. A closeted Klaine shipper, if you will, and she never mentioned it until now. She wants Kurt and Blaine to be together, so she creates a fake elevator in the school that traps Kurt and Blaine in it together and pumps it with like hormones and pheromones. And she comes in on a little jigsaw, like she's a jigsaw puppet, like the movie Saw, a jigsaw from the movie Saw, and is like, until you kiss, you can't get out of here. We've already talked about that, but that is one of my favorite plot points on the show. It is so unhinged, it's hilarious. Somebody pointed out in the comments of the last video something that I forgot. Sue also reveals that Karofsky and Blaine are cousins. So he was dating his cousin, and that's never addressed again. It's simply never addressed again. And that's why this is the best show on television. Next in this category, we have Quinn tricking Finn into thinking that he got her pregnant even though she cheated on him with Puck. So there's a lot to unpack here. Number one, Puck got Quinn drunk to have sex with her. Yucky. And they still end up together at the end of the show, which is gross. Also, to cover up the fact that she has cheated on Finn with Puck, she lies to Finn and says that the baby that she is pregnant with is his. And he says, but we've never had sex. And she says, but one time you prematurely ejaculated in the hot tub we were in, and the water makes the sperm swim fast, so that's how I got impregnated. Any questions, class? Next in this section, related to Finn believing that Quinn is pregnant with his baby. So Quinn has been hiding that she's pregnant because her parents are heavily, heavily religious. And Finn comes over for family dinner at her house because he's her steady boyfriend, and he sings a cappella at the table, or maybe he uses a boombox, but he sings in canon. It's not like there's a lot of those numbers in Glee where it's like everybody's singing, but not everybody can, like the people in the reality can't hear the song. It's happening in a character's mind. Not this one. This is happening in reality. Finn sings the song, "You're Having My Baby, What a Wonderful Way to Say That You Love Me," to his girlfriend at family dinner with her heavily religious parents, getting her kicked out. Finn is a menace on this show. I think we forget because Corey Monteith is a charisma machine and a good actor. Finn destroys lives in this show. I can't believe it. Next in this section, there's an entire plot point where Rachel Berry and Blaine Anderson are the leads in the school musical West Side Story. This is a side note, not related at all. Lea Michele famously cried because she was never going to be able to play Maria in West Side Story on Broadway, despite the fact that she's not Latina, if you were wondering. She's not. She's Italian. In the high school production of West Side Story, Artie is directing, and he says that there's not enough sex. He doesn't believe that the characters want to have sex with each other. So he orders these 16-year-olds to lose their virginity. As a student director, you simply don't have that power. Next in this section, we have, of course, Carmen Thibodeau, played by Whoopi Goldberg, EGOT herself. Whoopi has an EGOT, right? I think she does. So Carmen Thibodeau is the admissions head of NYADA, the New York Academy for the Dramatic Arts, a fake musical theater university that Kurt and Rachel want to get into. I went deeply into this in the last video I made about what happened if Rachel eventually getting into NYADA and Kurt not getting into NYADA is like truly criminal to me, and like if we really get into it I will seethe and scream at the camera, so we don't have time. So when Rachel does her audition for NYADA, she chokes and she keeps going, please, 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 as the lights go down because she's choked and Carmen Thibodeau leaves. So instead of just kind of doing what a regular person would do and go, oh, I'll just audition next year, or I can go to a different performing arts school, or I can just move to New York and try and make it, she stalks Carmen Thibodeau and sends her a letter demanding she comes to regionals, where Carmen Thibodeau sees her sing Make It Right, I believe an original song, to get in. So she just stalk the dean of admissions at the school you want to get into and you'll get in. And that's fine. Okay, next in Who Wrote This, we have just the poor character of Marley. I've included a picture because they've trapped this poor actress in these newsboy caps. They're like, this girl, she wears newsboy caps, okay? And she sings in cursive. I feel so bad for her. At sectionals, Marley, this character, faints because she has an eating disorder. And she has an eating disorder because she was cast as Sandy in the school's production of Grease. Kitty, the other girl who's like the cheerleader who wants to play Sandy, decides to sneak into the school every night and sew Marley's costume smaller so she thinks she's gaining a lot of weight, so she cracks under the pressure of an eating disorder she's developed so that she can't play Sandy and Kitty gets to play Sandy. And this has resulted in a school shooting episode where the character Kitty is like, I'm sorry I did this. And then Marley has to be like, it's okay, because it's a school shooting, so I might as well forgive you. And then finally in the Who Wrote This section, we have 3 squares to represent different points of one of my favorite plot points in the show that I can't believe I forgot to talk about in the first video, which is Quinn Fabray texting and driving while on the way to Finn and Rachel's wedding. And while she's texting and driving, she gets absolutely demolished by a car. She gets in a car accident. The way it's shot is she's texting and driving and the camera's here and you can see out the driver's window and you can see the van like slam into her, and truly when that happened, like I still think about that. I was watching a scene in The West Wing where like a character gets like their car gets bombed. It's a whole thing, but it was shot like Quinn Fabray texting and driving, and I'm like, this is how every scene in a car where a character is about to die, basically, this is how every scene is shot. You can see out the driver's window and you're like, well, it's gonna be bad. So she gets I hate this. She's texting and driving on the way to Finn and Rachel's wedding. She wasn't gonna go, but she decided to attend because she didn't support the wedding of 2 teenagers. You know what? She's a queen. I support her for this. So then she's wheelchair bound because of this. She is doing physical therapy to walk again with the Christian white guy with dreads named Joe. They develop a relationship that I don't think anyone cares about. It's not consequential to the plot at all. He's just a white guy with dreads, and I really feel like we need to mark that, you know? I feel like we really need to hit that. She's in the wheelchair for, I want to say 5 episodes at most. It's not a long arc. And Artie teaches her to accept wheelchair life, and they sing a rendition of Sir Elton John's I'm Still Standing in wheelchairs. And neither character is disabled. You're welcome, disabled community, for your representation. You're welcome. Insane. Now we're going to I Will Be Seeking Damages. The first in this category is What Does the Fox Say? They sang a rendition of What Does the Fox Say, just because at a certain point Glee stopped singing just like songs that make sense and more just whatever's on the radio. And this is the song that broke me. Like, we got to What Does the Fox Say on my rewatch and I went, no, I can't. I cannot. I can't. It's so, I can't. I also listened to the Glee rewatch podcast and they say that this song and a song coming up in this section are the 2 points in which the actors Jenna and Kevin, who play Tina and Artie, like broke. They were like on set being like, what are we doing here? I'll also just include right now, that second song is a rendition of Gangnam Style. Tina sings Gangnam Style at sectionals. And during the performance of Gangnam Style at sectionals, Marley collapses from her eating disorder and everyone gets mad at her for that. How dare you? This show, it tests me, but I love it. Also, in the I Will Be Seeking Damages section, we have Blaine sucking in gas in a gas leak in the choir room and hallucinating everyone in the choir room as Muppets, like Muppet puppets, who worship him. Moving on. Don't need to explain that. I feel like you've got it. Next, we have Finn being a menace to society again. He outs Santana because Santana's being kind of mean to him. And he basically is like, you're a lesbian! And you don't want to admit that you're a lesbian, but you are. And he outs her to everyone in Glee Club. And she's mad because she's just been outed. Fair. And to apologize, in Glee Club, Finn gets real close to her, sits on the chair, like he spins the chair around and sits like this, and sings a slowed down, melancholic version of Girls Just Want to Have Fun. If I was Santana in this situation, I'd have to be held back. You would have to restrain me because I would commit acts of violence unknown to man previously. The gall to out Santana and then just be like, girls just wanna have fun. There's a bug. Okay, next we have the flash mob that the Glee Club sings for Will's proposal to Emma, the guidance counselor. Will Schuster's proposal. They sing a flash mob version and dance to the song We Found Love in a Hopeless Place. And it's at a pool, and they're doing kind of like a synchronized swimming thing. And at a certain point, Artie just rolls himself into the pool to drown, presumably. Next in this section, we have Kurt being randomly biphobic. Love it. You know, like, as a bisexual person, I support Kurt's right to be biphobic. Just, this is the way of the world. We have to have Kurt randomly say, let me read it, I have to get close. Bisexual is a term that gay guys in high school use when they want to hold hands with girls and feel like a normal person for a change. Saying this to his, no, not his boyfriend, but the guy he has a crush on, Blaine, when Blaine's like, maybe I'm bi, because I kissed Rachel and I like it. And he's like, no, you're not bi. And by the way, I'm also going to imply that straight is normal. Straight is normal. And bi is fake, and gay is weird. That's Kurt's stance in this. The next crime we have in this section is one of my favorites. I watched it recently because it's a Glee Christmas episode, and it's called Glee Actually. There's a lot in this episode that's fun. Sam and Brittany get married because they think that the Mayan calendar thing is real and that the world is gonna end. There's some good stuff. But the main one is that Artie is upset that he's in a wheelchair and feeling disheartened by his disability. And he has a kind of hallucination where he gets to see what his life would be like. It's a wonderful lifestyle if he was able-bodied. First, it's important to note that he's a football player because there's two types of people in this world. He's like fully a nerd, but it's implying that there's two people in this world and you're either a football player or you're in a wheelchair. And if you're not in a wheelchair, you would be a football player. No notes there. And basically the thesis of this episode is that if Artie wasn't in a wheelchair, Glee Club would have never happened and everybody else's lives would be worse. Mr. Schuster is an alcoholic. Rachel never pursued her dreams and instead became a librarian. Imagine the horror of being a librarian. Nothing worse. There's a really kind of horrific implication where they say Becky becomes the school slut because he wasn't nice to her. Just really, really up crazy shit. In order to inspire the love of Glee Club back into these people's lives, he sings a rendition of Feliz Navidad. This entire episode is in black and white, by the way. And then he realizes that he was the glue that held Glee Club together and he should actually be grateful for being in a wheelchair because it makes everyone else's lives better. I mean, it's not the, I guess the opposite of this is like Me Before You, being like, if you're disabled, we should be able to kill ourselves. But I don't feel like this is a good message, being like, be grateful for your disability, not because it gives you a unique perspective, but because it makes other people's lives good. Also, while he's singing Feliz Navidad, Kurt is so upset at him for singing and gives this face. He goes, so I had to include it. We have the alcoholism episode where everybody in the Glee Club becomes an alcoholic for one episode and then gets over it. Addiction is a one-episode arc. Get over it, bitch. And in this episode, the Glee Club at the anti-alcohol assembly performs TikTok by Kesha. There's a really funny joke in this where the principal calls Kesha K$, Pretty funny. And they're all drunk and Brittany, who's singing and performing, throws up on stage and it actually is a good alcohol awareness presentation because it's so horrific that nobody in school wants to drink. And the last crime we have, and I will be seeking damages, is when it's revealed that Sam, when his family lost their job, his family, like his father lost a job and his family lost their house and they're living in a motel, and Sam is stripping for money, and it's never addressed again. There's no trauma there, and he's fine. And don't worry about it, and it's fine. It's fine. We don't have to talk about it anymore. Finally, we have the jail time category. This is a Will Schuester heavy category. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't really grasp the amount of unhinged criminal stuff that they have Will Schuester do as a teacher in this, but it's a lot. First in this category, we have Will Schuester casting himself as Rocky in Rocky Horror Picture Show. So in order to impress Emma Pillsbury, who he has a crush on, he changes the school musical to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which shouldn't be done. It's just not a high school musical. I agree. I love Rocky Horror, but no. And he casts Sam as Rocky, who is basically like Dr. Frankenfurter's, like, kind of like Frankenstein's monster, but he's a sexy guy. And he does a big, like, sex number called Touch Me with Susan Sarandon's character. So that's what this high school play is. Sam doesn't want to wear basically like a Speedo on stage. So then Will says, fine, I'll cast myself as Rocky. He's presumably gonna do Touch Me with a student on stage in the school musical. You're going to jail, Mr. Schuester, you're going to jail. I will say about the Rocky Horror episode, they cast Mercedes as Dr. Frankenfurter, and she sings a Sweet Transvestite, the song, and it's one of those Glee songs that is better than the original. She like ops up, and it's so good, and you should listen to it. It's an amazing cover. I mean, related, also on the Will Schuester track is when Will Schuester sings Blurred Lines with the Glee Club and they twerk down the hallway together. Sir, you're twerking with your students and singing a song about if you're going to prison. Also in this episode, the episode's whole kind of story, I have like heavy quotes, is that they're banned from twerking, the Glee Club, and they're fighting for their right to twerk. Activism at its finest. And Sue hates the twerking so much that she says to Will Schuester, hey, you know how unique the trans student in Glee Club cannot use the proper restroom because whenever they use the restroom of their gender, they get hate crimed and violence is threatened towards them. And if they use the washroom of the opposite gender, their life is threatened there too. So they're unsafe to use the washroom at school. You know this? Well, I will provide protection for this trans student if you stop twerking. And Will goes, no, not interested. No, not an ally to the trans community. The next crime in the jail time category still involves Will. His crush, Emma Pillsbury. He's married for a lot of this, by the way. But he has a crush on someone outside of his marriage, Emma Pillsbury, and she's getting married to the football coach, Ken Tanaka. And their first dance is going to be the thong song. But Emma is worried because she doesn't know how to dance. So Will's like, oh, I'll give you dancing lessons and I'll sing the thong song to you while grinding up on you while you're in the wedding dress you purchased to marry another man. Moving on. Next in the jail time category, we have when Rachel Berry develops a crush on Will Schuester, her teacher. It happens. And she has a crush on him and he realizes this. And he sings a song to her that's a mashup of Young Girl and the Police's Don't Stand So Close to Me. Just kind of a song about being tempted. It's good to be like, hey, don't stand so close to me because you are a minor, but I would if I could, but the law, oh, great. Also made more complicated by the fact that before Glee, Matthew Morrison and Lea Michele did date. This is not like criminal. I know a lot of people in my life because I know a lot of actors, brag, but like people who are like, I'm playing a high schooler on TV and my partner is playing a teacher on TV, just because like people look different, even if they're the same age, but hilarious nonetheless. Next in the jail time category, we have another Will Schuester crime. This is when they are doing the assignment Katy versus Gaga, in which people are assigned if you're a Katy Perry or you're a Lady Gaga, but then you have to understand the other side. So all the Lady Gagas are performing a Katy Perry song and all the Katys are performing a Gaga song in costume. So Marley is a Katy, but she's assigned to perform a Gaga song and she has to perform in Lady Gaga's fish bikini. And she says, no, I'm a minor and I don't really feel comfortable performing in a bikini. And also I have a well-known eating disorder at this point and I'm not comfortable with my body. And Will Schuester says, suspended. You're suspended. Consider yourself suspended. You're going to she's a minor, Will. She doesn't want to wear a bikini. You can't suspend her for that. Next in this category, we have, again, an iconic plot point from the pilot where Rachel Berry is in Glee Club and she wants the lead in the school musical, and the current director of Glee Club will not give it to her, and his name is Sandy Ryerson. So she is spying on him and finds him fondling another student, and she reports this to the principal, not because he's a predator, but because she wants a lead in the school musical. Good. Next in the jail time category, we have something I did not know was real. I've talked about this in the other Glee video. One of the most egregious, offensive Glee plot points to me is Rachel Berry's entire personality is based off of the fact that she wants to play Fanny Brice in Funny Girl on Broadway. Sound like any actors we might know, like Leah Michelle. And the entire time, she's working towards making her Broadway dreams come true. That's all she does. She begs Carmen Thibodeau to let her back into NYADA after she absolutely flopped her audition. Carmen Thibodeau eventually lets her in after seeing her performance at regionals. She's in NYADA and she gets cast in the Funny Girl revival, so she leaves NYADA. So she leaves school, even though she begged to get in, but it's to play Fanny Brice in Funny Girl. Understandable. After being in Funny Girl for about 3 weeks, she leaves to go do a TV show. It doesn't make any sense for her character. It just doesn't make any sense, okay? So that's part of it, but we've already talked about this. Okay, so, I'm sorry, my brain is broken. Something I did not know was that episode, the episode Glees, which is when Glee does Grease, which we talked about before, and a couple other were written and or directed by Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, who is the creator of Riverdale, which obviously I love. But that makes sense, because it's so unhinged, it makes sense. So that episode where she leaves Funny Girl to go on TV is written by the creator of Riverdale. Checks out, to me. I mean, it doesn't make sense for the character at all, but the creator of Riverdale would do that. In the finale of the show, Rachel Berry wins a Tony. And she reveals that after all of this happened, she begs Carmen Thibodeau to let her back into NYADA, and Carmen Thibodeau does. Carmen, no. Whoopi, no. Okay, we only have 2 more. This, bottom row of the jail time section is just, vacant stares of men. There's a lot of horrifying staring happening. Next, we have Will Schuester winning Teacher of the Year the same year it is revealed that he is the Spanish teacher, but he doesn't know Spanish. He doesn't know the language at all, and he's teaching it. Yes! And finally, we have this horrifying, just 500-yard stare photo of Tom Brady, because in the final season of Glee, they have this character that is a gay football player, and the whole thing is he's like, look, it's fine to be gay now, and I'm not like other gay guys, I'm a jock. Sue is trying to bribe him, so she gets him a custom Tom Brady male fleshlight. It's a student, Sue. You're going to jail. So that is all of Glee's crimes against humanity. If there are any more, honestly, please put them in the description below. I could do 900 of these videos. I love talking about Glee. My Instagram and all that stuff is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!